How do guys? It's been a while since I've just put the camera on and filmed something at a weekend, just me enjoying the hobby. I've printed some models off that I really want to paint, and for my birthday last month I treated myself to a new paint range. I was getting a bit fed up using the same colours over and over again, so I just bought something new and thought I'd have a play with them, and I thought I'd see what comes out. As in, let's just play and see what we can do with them. The paints that I've bought are the Monument Hobbys, the Pro Acyl. I've seen videos on them like Ninjon, and some of my friends have bought them and they're raving about them. So I thought I'd have a go myself and see if I liked them, because I was looking for some airbrush paints and stuff anyway. And when I heard that the Monument Hobbies paints are ready to use in your airbrush as well, I was like, well, that kills two birds with one stone. It means I don't have to double the amount of paint. So I've done it. So let's see what happens. Let's get cracking. Now, first thing, I'd prime the models with normal cheap spray cans that I normally use, and then I grabbed the white, and I just thought I'd chuck a zenithal highlight on. Rather than using white ink, I thought I'd use the white paint just to see if the white paint's as good as the ink, because I've heard that the pigment's very strong in these. So the first thing I've noticed with priming with the white is it's slightly hydrophobic. So as you can see, the white paint's sort of moving away from the primer a little bit. Now, I thought this was just the white. So I've tried the colours and stuff under the feet, and it does move on that primer. So in future, I think Monument Hobbies do their own primer. It's for my hobby, so I don't mind. And to be fair, I should be priming with an airbrush rather than using primer cans and taking them outside all the time. I think I'll actually get more done if I can just drop a couple of drops of primer in my brush and do it here anyway. So it's not a negative, it's just something to be aware of. So if I do find a primer that works with these out of the tin, I will let you know. But other than that, so far so good. Now, once that white zenithal had dried, the coverage over that was amazing. So I am going to have to change my primer. Now, I wasn't watering these down at this point, but the skin tones went on very well. But when I went onto the blue, especially the lighter blue, I decided to add 50-50 with water. And it's shocking how strong the pigment is, as in 50-50 with water was expecting to be quite transparent. It does cover amazingly well. So I've never come across paints with this sort of pigment. It might be just the colours that I'm using at the moment, but to test that, I do go on to using yellows, reds and greens, and 50-50 with water. There was airbrushing on so goddamn well. I really like these for airbrushing. And the other good thing about these paints is they're vibrant, they're very saturated. So it's like having the perfect sci-fi and fantasy paint colours in front of me. However, if I wanted to do some sort of dark fantasy or historics, all I've got to do is mix a bit of grey into the colour or a bit of brown into the colour just to mute them a bit more. So it's like having the entire Vallejo range in front of me that takes up no room at all. And Vallejo range at work's getting ridiculous, and any Vallejo painter that uses the model colour range knows exactly what I'm talking about. I've got about 70 of the same colour. Slight variants, but green greys, brown greys, you know what I'm talking about. But this is nice for at home, limited space, limited colours, I can mix what I want. And with how the holding with water is very impressive. This is where I'm most shocked with these paints, because on the brush, 50-50 with water, they just flow so great. It's like using contrast paints, but without the translucency of them. They just go on. It's easy. I'm a bugger for not watering my paints down, but with how thin these are, I was watering them down, and because the pigment's so strong, not a problem. Awesome on the brush. I'm finding it hard to pick a fault with the paints I've used so far. So yeah, let's see how they cope with washers, and then let's have a mess with dry brushing. Right, so then washers went on brilliantly. I watered them down a little bit with the water because I didn't want them to destroy all the shading that I've done with the airbrush. Like I said, it's not a how to paint or how I'd actually paint. This is just me playing with techniques. But matte paints, usually when you use them, people tell you that they don't wash very well. However, I didn't see any negative with this. They just Agrex shade just got all over them and they work fine. And I really like the look of it. Now, I'm finding it very hard to find a negative with these. Now, with how heavy pigmented they are, they should dry brush amazingly. Now, I could never dry brush well with Army Painter. I always used to dry brush with Vallejo or Citadel. Now, if these dry brush, I'm going to be so happy with these paints. Now, the reason I'm saying dry brush, and I know people are going to be like, oh God, you know, buying good pro paints and dry brushing with them. If I want to paint something quick, I want a paint that does everything. If I want to paint something slow and take my time and learn how to paint nicer, I've got the paints that can do it because I can thin these down to glazes and they hold themselves well. I am finding it hard to find a negative. I've not used every colour, but I've now used most of them and I'm liking everything. So let's see if the dry brush and then we'll wrap up at the end. Now, I never thought I'd say this, the dry brush better than dry brush paints. The dry brush better than my Vallejo paints. You get them on that brush, they just live on it forever. I used a couple of drops on my tissue and they're dry brushed all form of how many models? 5 models from a couple of drops. So yeah, I'm sold. Let's wrap this up. Now, I'm very happy with these paints. The models, they look okay to say that I've tried every technique that I'd normally use imaginable on each one. But I'm just testing the paints. It's been nice just to fiddle and play. And the Monument Hobbys, you've got a great set of paints. I might even get some for work because they actually cover so well. The only thing that you've got to do is if you want desaturated a bit more realistic colours, you might have to put a bit of grey or brown in them just to desaturate them a bit. But I ain't got a problem with that. It's nice having a smaller amount of colours. You're not looking for the perfect green grey, brown green, because if you've used Vallejo, you've normally got thousands of them. So it is nice just to go, I'll have that, chuck a bit of grey in and it works. I'm really happy with it. And if you've used them, let me know you know what you think below. If you haven't used them and you're thinking about it, just buy a couple of pot of skies and try them. All the paints are pretty consistent that I've used so far. And you'll see me using them in future anyway. So if I find anything, I'm sure I'll tell you. But I've used a majority of them now, at least over half, and not one of them's upset me. The only thing that is a bit of a problem is the primer. But it's a small change, as in I'll just have to use airbrush primer. I've been holding off for this long, so it's not going to hurt me to use it. I like using airbrushes, so there we go. But anyway, guys, if you want to support me, check all my links below, where you can buy all my Scenics and everything. Dan from Atlantis Miniatures, Print My Miniatures are there as well, so you can find the models that I've painted on there and print them off. They're on My Mini Factory, I think, where you can get them from. And yeah, I'll put a link to Monument Hobbies. It's not affiliated. This video is not sponsored by anyone. This is just me making a video. A bad one, but making a video. So if you've liked it, let me know. If you don't like it, I don't care. I've enjoyed myself. And that's what matters. I've even done a couple more videos this weekend that are pretty lame like this. But we'll see what you think of them and all. But anyway, guys, I'll see you for the next video. Love, love, love.